Labs. We love labs. They're the best part of science, the whole doing part. And since you're probably going to be doing some amazing science labs this year, we thought we'd outline a few major points of general lab safety. Because safety is a big deal. And while this is certainly not all the points of safety, always read through the safety guidelines specific to the lab you're doing, these are some major general safety rules that apply for many types of labs. First, let's talk about shoes. And hair. We have neither of those, but if you do, long hair needs to be pulled back. You should wear closed-toed shoes because you don't want to be pouring something toxic on your feet or walking on broken glass. Speaking of broken glass, bags and stuff in the aisles and lab rooms do not help. You want a clear path and not have your belongings out where someone could trip over them. And no horseplay. To protect your eyes, wear goggles. And when we say wear goggles, we all know that on your forehead doesn't count. If you do feel as though something has gotten in your eyes, you will want to use the eye wash station, which will require you to hold your eyes open under the running water. If your lab involves working with specimens or chemicals, you will likely be advised to wear gloves. Gloves are important. Yes, sometimes they make your hands feel clammy, but you know what's worse? Chemicals that can irritate or burn your skin. If you have an allergy to latex, you should make sure that the gloves you are using are latex-free. Ask your instructor. In fact, if you have any allergies, you should let your instructor know. When you finish a lab, even if you wore gloves, it's a good idea to wash your hands after time in the lab. Some labs may require you to wear an apron to protect your clothes. Depending on what type of course you are in and the type of labs you are doing, you also might have a safety shower, which will dump a very large amount of water on you if you get some type of hazardous chemical on you. If you accidentally break glassware, don't pick it up. It could cut you. A broom and a dustpan should be used to clean it up, and there should be a place designated for broken glass. Not the regular trash, where it would just break through the trash liner. If you see glassware that is chipped already, don't use it and tell your instructor. Never drink or eat anything in the lab. That includes chemicals. Don't taste or smell chemicals. Read labels. Don't ever pour chemicals that you may be using back into the bottle that they came from. As soon as you finish pouring chemicals out of a container, the container should be immediately closed. When you're done with a chemical, you want to make sure you properly dispose of it. Many chemicals can't just be put down the drain. In fact, some solid items that you use in your labs also cannot be thrown away in the regular trash and have to be disposed of as hazardous waste. Always check with your instructor. In some labs, you may have a special ventilation system, also known as a fume hood. This is used when dealing with volatile substances, which is a fancy way of describing a substance that can easily vaporize. Some of your labs may require the fume hood because some of these volatile substances may be harmful if you inhale them. When you're heating things up, like this test tube in a hot water bath, don't have the test tube pointed towards you. Use tongs or heat protective gloves to handle the test tube that you may be heating. Also, electricity and water are not a good mix. So when you're doing your super awesome microscope lab, you want to keep the water away from the electrical cord. And speaking of microscopes, we could have an entire video on just working with the microscope. But for now, we'll make sure to mention carrying it with two hands. One hand underneath the base, and the other holding the microscope arm. If you're using any special science equipment, it's important to know how to carefully carry it. If you are in a lab that has an open flame, obviously be aware of the flame. Review with your instructor how to operate the valve that controls the gas fueling the flame. Review with your instructor how to properly heat the various glassware that will be suspended over the flame. Every time you are in the lab with an open flame, you must keep all materials that may be flammable away from the area near the flame. Depending on the types of labs you're doing, your lab room may also have a fire extinguisher and/or a fire blanket in the room. Finally, the MSDS. It stands for Material Safety Data Sheet. It's available for pretty much every substance you use in your lab. You should refer to it because it will give you all kinds of safety information on a substance, including how to safely handle it, what to do if there's an accident with it, how to safely dispose of it, and more. Okay, so yeah, that was a lot. And there are so many more safety guidelines that may be specific to the lab that you're going to do. So you always want to go through specific guidelines in advance of your lab. We're going to put some items up here so you can pause this video and determine where those items are if they're relevant to your lab room. Remember, don't be intimidated. Just respect safety rules and guidelines because if you're following them, hands-on science is simply awesome.
How do we create a future in which both people and nature can thrive? This is the biggest question of our times. In the next few decades, we need to do something unprecedented, achieve a sustainable existence on Earth. But how do we do it? We can start by understanding how we got to this point. 20,000 years ago, humankind consisted of less than 1 million hunter-gatherers across the globe. We lived within the resources on offer, in balance with nature, a strategy that could theoretically last forever. But it wasn't an easy life. Nature determined our survival. We used our unique minds to challenge that reality. We learnt how to tame the wild, get more from the environment. Our population boomed, as did our demands. Every time a new problem arose, we solved it, altering Earth's entire surface in the process. And now we have changed the world so profoundly, scientists have decided that Earth has entered a new phase of its existence. Welcome to the Anthropocene, the age of humans. The tables have turned. We now determine nature's survival. The planet is ours. There's just one problem. We're now totally out of balance with nature. And unless we get our balance back, this age of humans is due to be short-lived. So how do we deal with this problem? When you boil it down, there is one underlying big issue. Our planet is becoming less wild. Our species has cleared 3 trillion trees, cultivated half its fertile land, and now fishes across most of the ocean. In the last 50 years, the populations of wild animals have reduced by 60%. We've replaced them with ourselves and our domesticated animals and plants. Today, we and the animals we raise account for 96% of the mass of mammals and 70% of the birds on Earth. There's very little wild left. This biodiversity loss is not just a tragedy, it's the single biggest problem we face. Without biodiversity, the world as we know it doesn't work. Our planet needs its wild spaces. Every one is a component in the global machine. Only if they are all healthy can the planet run smoothly. A less wild world is less able to provide for our needs, less able to maintain dependable weather and seasons, less able to absorb our impact. Biodiversity equals stability, and stability is what we need most of all. Can we turn this situation around? Can we rewild the world? Well, maybe, due to one key change. As societies develop, something is happening that has never happened before. People are having fewer children. Globally, since the year 2000, the number of people under 16 years old has hardly changed. The main reason our population is still rising is because people are living longer. If this continues, our population may finally stop growing by the turn of the century. By investing in education and women's rights and raising people out of poverty, we could bring about peak human even sooner. This changes everything. It gives us the opportunity we need to regain our balance. The plan for our planet is remarkably simple. Reduce our impact by making sure that everything we do, we can do forever. For the biggest gains, we could concentrate our efforts on 4 goals: phasing out fossil fuels and replacing them with renewables. This will not only slow the warming of the planet and the acidification of the ocean, but it will lead to clean air for all of us. Upgrading to efficient food production and reducing our consumption of meat. We'll require far less space to provide for ourselves, leaving more for grasslands, reducing deforestation and our demand for fresh water, and feeding more people with healthier, more affordable food. Working together to properly manage our ocean. A global network of no-fish zones and a treaty on the use of international waters would restore the health of the ocean so it actually produces more fish for us all to eat. Working hard to keep hold of the wild populations we still have, encouraging nature wherever we can. In the ocean, on land we no longer need, and even in our cities. If we make these changes, we'll be a long way to becoming a species in balance with nature once again. We will have taken a remarkable journey, from 1 million people struggling to survive, to several billion living long, healthy lives on a stable planet, able to provide for all our needs. Only at that point will the Anthropocene, the age of humans, be truly underway. At that point, we will be proud to call it our planet. How do we create a future in which both people and nature can thrive? We open our eyes to this moment in history. Think on a planetary scale. Embrace the challenge we face. And do something we humans are very good at. Change the world.
I'm a goddess with a blade. You're about to hear my name ringing in your head, loud, 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 loud. I could take it to the top, and no, you don't wanna stop. When I drop it like a bad gal, gal, gal. And when I start to talk like that, oh, you know how to react. I'm a picture perfect face with the wild in my veins. You can hear it in my growl, 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 growl. So keep your eyes on me now. I bet that you like it what you see. I'm on a whole other level. I bet you wanna come and play with me. We got it all in our hands now. So can you handle what we're all about? We're so tough, we're scared to show you up. Can you feel the rush now? Ain't nobody bringing us down, 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 down. They can try, but we gonna wear the crown. You could go another route. but you're not bringing